Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author Danielle Girard. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Hello, and welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air global network with more than 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Heather Webb. Heather is the USA Today and international best-selling author of 11 novels, including her upcoming The Hope Keeper and her other recently published Queens of London, The Next Ship Home, and Christmas with the Queen. In 2015, Rodin's Lover was a Goodreads top pick, and in 2018, Last Christmas in Paris won the Women's Fiction Writers Award. Oh gosh, I just messed it up. Won the Women's Fiction Writers Association Star Award. Meet Me in Monaco was selected as a finalist for the 2020 Goldsboro RNA Award in the UK, as well as the 2019 Digital Book World's Fiction Prize. And Three Words for Goodbye was a Prima Magazine's 2022 Book of the Year. Damn, girl, it's a lot of awards to date. Heather's books have been translated to 20 languages, and she lives in New England with her family and 2 mischievous cats. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
I was like, God, I just.
I mean,
and another, and there's.
I'm glad I didn't have to read that because I would
won
have.
all the awards.
I don't know about that, but
She's won
yeah.
them all. Well, listen, I love The Hope Keeper, and actually, I was also a huge fan of Queens of London. Did I get the right?
Yes, yeah. Queens of London,
It was
yeah.
about the what was the gang called?
40 elephant, the 40
Yeah.
elephants, an all-female crime syndicate in 1920s London.
So
Yeah.
fun. So I love this. And if you don't know Heather Webb, this is her thing. She takes real life events and she twists them and turns them into fictional, partially fictional, historical fun books. And these two
Fights
I
and
read are
fun.
both have thriller elements in them for sure. So before we dig too deep into all the fun things about these characters in this book, tell our listeners about The Hope Keeper.
Yeah, so I'm early on in talking about this book, so bear with me because after a while we get used to just talking about it, but right now I'm still kind of fresh.
Totally.
It is, so it is Jazz Age DC, or kind of right on the Jazz Age edge. And it is about the last woman who owned the Hope Diamond. And her name was Evelyn Walsh McLean. She was a real person, a socialite. She knew everyone in DC, big power couples, knew the president and the president's wife kind of person. I have a main character that's fictional, who's a jeweler who tends to this woman's collection. It's very Great Gatsby-esque. You have rich people behaving badly. You have scandal, but you also have this question of, was the untimely death of my main character's brother, her twin brother, was it a murder or was it an accident? And she's kind of devastated and going to find out what the deal is. But the underlining current is our curse is real. Is the curse of the Hope Diamond real? How has it affected the people within its orbit? And you get a little bit about that sprinkled throughout the book too. So
I know, and I remember I saw the Hope Diamond at the museum, the Smithsonian,
yes.
the Natural History Smithsonian in DC. Gosh, when we took the kids, and they must have been like, I bet it was like 2006, 2007, somewhere there. So they were like 6 and 4, 7 and 5. And I loved it. It's so spectacularly beautiful.
You kind of just stare at it.
Yeah, it's so, and to think that it was like running around on a human, that's incredible. That's so crazy. So tell us about the how did you stumble upon the curse? How did you learn about that?
Well, I was like 9 or 7, and my parents had full sets of encyclopedias in the house. So this was like a bajillion years ago, and I'm very old.
Well, girl, you're younger than I am, so don't age it too much.
Way before the internet. So yeah, I had, I was always a rock collector, and I just, I also have a master's in geography. So I'm very much like, I love the earth. I love location and how cultures shape the earth and where we live and how the earth shapes us and blah, blah, blah. So you've got all that as my sort of my backdrop.
Yeah.
And then reading in the encyclopedia about these stolen gems or these cursed gems or these really famous gems. I mean, I am the perfect candidate for any kind of heist, any kind of it's catnip for me. So I had been wanting to write about the Hope Diamond for a very long time. And in fact, I floated a proposal to an editor that is no longer, she's retired now, but um 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and she said, it was a completely different idea. But she's like, I love the Hope Diamond, but I'm not sure this is the right idea. And I was devastated because I'm like, I have to write a book about the Hope Diamond. But it kind of came back in a completely different form. And
Well, and I love that there are short chapters from the perspective of the diamond itself, right? As it gets
yes,
passed into sort of different hands, and even from sort of the beginning when it was like, sounds like it was bigger originally.
it was huge. Yeah, it was 46 something carats and then it was cut down.
Do
Yeah.
we know what happened to the rest of it?
Well, that's the big question. So one of the legends is that part of it became the Brunswick Blue, which is another famous gemstone that the was sort of in the English court. So yeah, it's absolutely, worth digging into for sure. I mean, there's just so many legends. It's like what part is real, but there are a lot of, there's a lot of documents you can follow, and I did quite a bit of that too. I almost wrote a story exclusively about the gym and sort of its beginnings, and it was just like, nah, I need something that's a little bit juicier. Throw
Yeah,
in a little murder or
yeah.
potential murder, questions about murder. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah.
And it's
So,
so fun to follow Elizabeth, who's just like, I mean, first of all, both she and her dad are grieving. Their mom is gone. So it's just the two of them left after her brother is dies. And it's what an interesting job. And I did, were there actual jewelers that came to homes and sort of tended.
yes.
She actually ends up like Evelyn ends up introducing her to sort of her cohort, and she kind of is looped into society as the person who will come and like tend all the stones. So people did that, huh? Came and made sure your
Yeah.
diamonds weren't gonna fall out.
Any kind of specialist, if you're okay, so if you're a wealthy person in that era, it's hard for us to imagine now because it's just not how it is, even if you're wealthy in general. I mean, you might have people come out, but in general, you go to locations and you hire people and all that. But back then, yeah, you could hire anyone, and that's exactly what they did. There were these hugely wealthy families. Um, this is right, the story is set right on the cusp of industrialization and fake jewelry, costume jewelry. So you get this sort of push-pull too of artistry versus the fake stuff. We're like, this is so relevant because what are we doing now in art versus AI? I mean, it's got a different face, but the result is the same, and that was happening then. And so there's a little bit of that kind of undercurrent in the background. But she would go, Elizabeth would go and take care of collections for people. Um,
And of
sort of,
course, there's all that sort of, just the Evelyn, brings her in, treats her like her best friend until there's a moment where she's like, "And you're the help." Like there's that wonderful, like it sort of has that, like the Swans of Fifth Avenue kind of. You get to look into, like you said, the very very wealthy women and a little bit of the husbands as well, and see them sort of behaving badly. How do you, obviously we can all imagine that's how people act because we still see it today. But is there like a process that you go through when you're researching like a time period, or you know enough to understand how these people would behave badly because it's not such.
yeah. I mean, we see it all the time. Yeah. So I'll start by saying that for some reason, I'm really fascinated by the class system. I find it interesting because human nature is the same regardless of your class. It's just a matter of privilege. And I find that really interesting, in particular in historical fiction, because you see through time how it changes, which is why I love turn of the century books, turn of the 20th century, I should say, now that we're in the 21st. But anyway, yeah, because there was such a huge shift. And you see it again in this book. So I love all that stuff. And in terms of research, I do sort of a broad swipe where I will look at what's happening in the times. I'll read like what are the art movements? What's going on with music? What's happening with tech? What's happening, politically,
Yeah, especially
struggling.
yeah,
What's in the news? I look
right.
at all that stuff and then I'll drill down and look at, like Evelyn Walsh McLean and she's a secondary character, but she's a real person in the book that owned the diamond. She has a memoir that she co-wrote with someone, which is hilarious because as someone who co-writes their own memoir, there's a lot of facts changed. But like sort of smooth things over. But
Right, right. She wanted to be remembered in a different light. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll go into that too, of course. I look at like biographies and all that. And then I organize a historical outline by topic. I think a lot of people organize by date, and I find that then you end up having this enormous outline that looks like a nonfiction piece, and that's not my goal. My goal is to kind of hit interesting aspects that sort of underscore the fictional story.
Yeah, it's a page turner. It just set like with real people. And her husband, Evelyn's husband, also, right? I mean, and then
Oh, the Washington Post.
right, right. And yes, oh God, God bless the Washington Post.
I know.
Rest in
It's in the
peace.
news. I'm telling you,
Um,
there's a lot that's in the news that's happening in
yeah.
this
Yeah,
book
well,
right
plus the
now.
jewelry heist in Paris, that's kind of like, were you writing this when that had happened? It was already
It
done.
was done by then, but
Yeah,
yeah, I just thought, okay, here we go. We've got
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And then Evelyn, there were some tragedies. Obviously, all of those I'm assuming are real. So that is,
yes.
I mean, it is interesting. And then it sounds like the person who owned it before her as well. There was some
All along the way.
misfortune.
Yeah. I don't want to, I can't do any spoilers, but I will say that there's a certain amount about the gem's history that's fabricated. And you can find it crazily enough, even newspapers reported on incidents that were not real because it just has such this sort of
Right,
rich history,
right.
and everybody has this thought of what the gem is. But some of it's really real too. So yeah, and I found that great too. Like where does legend meet fact?
Right.
What do you believe? I have to say, I'm a strong believer in energy. I think that this world runs on energy, particles, science, like it's like, and there's all this science now that shows positive energy versus negative energy and how you draw things to yourself and how you can repel and blah, blah, blah. And I could go on and on about all that stuff. So a curse even more just appeals to me. Like, what does that mean? Do objects carry a certain energy with them?
Wow.
Is that
Well,
a real
especially
thing?
stones, right? I feel like, don't we think about like, I mean, crystals and when it comes from the earth and
Yeah.
it does, yeah, no, I would say that. I also feel like it's weird, like I don't know, we're weirdly sentimental about jewelry in general. I feel like where it came from, who gave it to you, where it was after that or before that, or I love it. Plus, I think I don't know if it's all women, but I am I mean, I can be just. I mean, not that I am shopping for jewelry ever, but I can be like walking down the street and if there's a jewelry store, I am like at the window, like a kid with
Same.
puppies. I'm just like, oh, that one's pretty. Oh, that's so pretty. Like why is it so thrilling?
Yeah, I love that question because I think the conception is, oh, women like beautiful things and want to be valued. They are valued because of what they own and the sort of the message that it reflects. And big gemstones are power, right? Or anything that you own that, shows that you have money
Wow.
is a
Right,
sense of power.
right.
Right. But at the same time, what you're talking about is what I love, which is I think about jewelry, and I'm doing this because I have this tiny little silver necklace. It's like there's an infinity and then a
Yeah,
heart, which I don't tend to wear hearts, but
love it.
I was on coming back from a tour and there was this artisan that had all of his stuff out and it was so gorgeous. And I saw it and I just went to it. And every time I'm wearing this, I think about this moment and this exchange I had with
Right,
this artist and
right.
where I was at emotionally. And it's like jewelry is a talisman. I think
It is.
that,
Yeah.
you think about you have this beautiful ring that I saw, your sapphire ring, and
Yeah, it's
it
my little
means
divorce ring that I made myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
it's
I don't have any sapphires in my world. Like I'm not September. My kids aren't. Nobody's September. I have to find a way to make September an important date because I do. I really. I love. And I know you've got a beautiful sapphire.
yeah, and I don't have September either, but it's more about sort of what the message is for you. And I think that that's why jewelry is so appealing. It is to men too. Their jewelry's just a little bit different. I mean, it
Yeah.
might be a nice watch or and there, there's a lot of stigma around men wearing jewelry, which is unfortunate. In these days, there was not in the past. But yeah, so I think that's part of it. It's that message, it's that
Mhm.
sort of sentimentality, all that stuff.
And it is fun. I mean, even the costuming stuff is fun to wear, like sort of as dress, like it's a way to dress up too. Which I think as a woman, I'm not going to deny that that's part of the appeal.
It's fun.
Yeah, I do. I love it. So, well, okay,
I
so
mean, we're in sweats most of the day,
I
so I'm
know
wearing yoga
pajamas.
pants.
Sweats is like an upgrade. I'm usually in my pajamas. I'm actually wearing jeans. Usually, especially if I'm on being recorded, all you see is the top. I'm like in something that is not appropriate to leave the house on the bottom. So I wanted to talk about Elizabeth because also, she's so interesting. So the one of the things that you do so beautifully, and you do this. And I read also 3 Words for Goodbye. You have
Oh,
beautiful arcs for these characters, right? I mean, Elizabeth is, she's now having to hold down the family business because her dad is not in a place to really work because he's grieving. And yet it's not kind of maybe what she wants to do forever.
and
And
she
it's
doesn't know.
and she doesn't know, and she's young, and she's also like you said, she's the class system, right? She doesn't have a ton of options, and people are still like, "What do you mean? There's a woman here to service my jewelry? Where's the man who's supposed to take care of these things?" So, how do you do this? Are you somebody who like has this mapped out? Do you write by feel? I'm so always
Oh,
so
I'm a mapper.
you are a
I mean,
mapper,
there's a lot of feeling too. I mean, I think if you've been writing long enough, you understand that there's no absolutes, right? You start to write something, sometimes it's not working at all. And in this book, actually, when I started it, God, I could not, I think I had maybe 10,000 words, which for people who don't follow words, what is that, like 25 pages, 30
yeah,
pages, something like
yeah,
that?
I always think of 250 as being about how many words you get on a page, but anyway, something like that.
Yeah, and I just got stuck and I got stuck and I got stuck and it was months and months. And then I started thinking about other scenes. And so I decided, you know what? This book doesn't want to be linear. I have no idea what the mystery is, but I know I want a mystery. And so I started writing other scenes and I had to end up piecing it all together. And I
Oh
think
my gosh, that's so hard. That would have been
it
really
was
hard.
hard. It was really hard to write, honestly. This book was not, it was fun. It was challenging, but it was really hard. Yeah, I had to rewrite whole sections and move things around. I broke out, like I usually write in Word, but I finally broke out a Scrivener document so I
Yeah.
could
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
manipulate.
right. I mean, so for those people who are sort of aspiring authors, Scrivener is a writing software that lets you sort of line the chapters up and drag and drop them versus like having to cut and paste in Word, which I always get to Word when I have once I've made a full draft, but in the process I have to be in Scrivener. I don't plan. I mean, I like
Wow.
well, it's not my choice. I just never have like I think if I'm thinking about what this character's gonna do or who she is, I have to be writing it for it to even like have like even my brain to figure it out. So I
That's
love it.
amazing to me because I can't. I mean, I understand. So I think about that as like the first draft is a discovery draft,
Yeah,
whether you're a planner or you just sort of intuitively write a story.
right,
I do a lot of planning up front. Part of that's being a historical writer. Like you have to
right,
know some facts and some framework,
right.
but there's a lot that I did not. I mean, I have a lot of fictional elements in the story, so I started out writing it as a dual timeline, and there
Interesting.
was no tension in one of the timelines. It just wasn't working, and I
Yeah,
had to
what was
move
the other timeline?
pieces.
I'm so curious because
Well,
really,
so I took it, you'll see, I mean, you read it, so there are scenes where there's some flashbacks,
yeah. So you just had that was they were their own
and
timeline.
I ended up cutting them by like 2/3, and then integrated it. And then right around that time is when I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun if I tried writing from the Hope Diamond's point of view? I
Yeah.
absolutely had not planned that. So
Yeah.
I'm a planner, but also my plans go to
Yeah,
hell at some point.
right. Which, I think having it's like having a map, right? Once you
Yeah.
sort of know where you're going, you can wing around and find your way a little differently. But no, that works beautifully. I love that. And I can see, I mean, the flashbacks are really powerful, but I can see how that they don't have the drama
No,
propulsion of the present day stuff. Like when they're
it's more of an emotional enrichment. It's kind
Mhm.
of like an understanding of why things are the way they are at the moment, as opposed to some like exciting backstory that's driving it. Yeah, that it
And
just did not work at
I
all.
also love to really, I mean, I want to call him Henry. Is that his?
Yes, the
Okay.
boyfriend.
Yeah, I was like, and that's also the husband's name in Pinky's Rose. So I'm like, did I like invent that that's his name? But
I remember I loved Pinky Swear.
and
I
I
listened
love,
to it.
thank you. And I love the idea again that like he's sort of a similar, like he's a wonderful boyfriend because he is not like about to tell her what to do, right? But he also, and he gives her space when she needs it. Anyway, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I really appreciated him on the page. And her dad too. Both of them sort of modern men for their era.
Well, that's, you know what, I'm glad that you brought that up because I think this is an important piece. So, writing as a woman today, but also writing as a historical fiction author in particular, the men are always terrible. And I've got some terrible men in some of my other books,
Oh
but I've
yeah,
also got
yeah,
great men.
yeah.
And the
There's
and the
there's some not so fabulous men in here too.
yeah,
There are great
there's
men.
some crappy secondary character men husbands, but I feel like um there couldn't be the kind of advancements there were in progress without the support of really wonderful, loving men that loved people and were open and understood and helped. I mean, helped women, helped people of color and different ethnicities like move forward. I mean, they did a lot of the heavy lifting, but you need the establishment to also help lift you up. And I thought I need men that are wonderful
Yeah. And
in this book.
I really think about actually a lot of books. I think so. I'm working on a book now that's about a marriage ending. So obviously we have one man who's not going to be fabulous, but I am trying to figure out like how to create an environment where it's not all bad man and good women, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's shades. I'd like to explore sort of some aspect of him that makes him more, relatable or other men or I don't appreciate the books where it feels like, and I have plenty of female rage, don't get me wrong. But
Same.
I
There's a
don't
lot of reason for it.
yeah, but I don't appreciate a book that is all that flavor. Like I want to see that tied in with like, oh, that man is lovely, and and that woman's not so lovely. Like I want to see a little bit more of the sort of all the shades of gray that we all are.
Love Shades of Grey. And I love, this is one thing I love about suspense and thrillers, and one thing I love about, and those are the elements I think you see show up in my historical fiction is that there are a lot of historicals where it's like rah women like going against the
Yeah, yeah.
and they're lovely books, but there's it's very it feels very Disney character-esque to me, and I just don't think that that's real life. Women being perfect and men being terrible, I think that's ridiculous. I think
Not
there's this
nuanced. It's just not nuanced enough. Like it just
it's not nuanced
yeah.
enough.
And I think it is something that we do, I think a lot of, especially in sort of like um, crime fiction, because a lot of focus goes on the crime itself. So a lot of books don't really get to the sort of meat of a character. And so I appreciate more and more the books where you can really get to know characters and you see their shades because I think everybody has them. There's no all white, there's no all black. And it's much more interesting when good people make bad decisions and bad people make good decisions to
I
confuse people.
totally agree.
Because you could just throw everybody in a bucket. Like, what's the purpose of that?
And we all do it. I mean, it's just it's human nature. I mean, I think you can justify almost not everything, but most things
Yeah,
if you are in a certain position. And I find that really interesting, which
yeah,
is what my book before this, Queens of London, you've got
yeah,
the crime boss and all that. I mean, and there's something similar in this book where you've got, some of these women, these socialites who are they're doing stuff. They've done things that are kind of nasty, but
Right.
you kind of understand why they're doing what they have to do to
Well,
survive.
and they don't have, like, they don't have I mean, you get to know a couple of them where you see what they don't have that many choices either. Even though they have like the privilege and the wealth, and there's a little different little box they're caged in, right?
Yeah.
It is interesting. So, and again, with Queens of London, you also really dig into that, um, societal, right? The
I tend to
the
always
wealth
do. I
and the
kind of love it.
poverty and
Find
yeah,
it
well,
interesting.
it is so interesting, and it's so prevalent. It's getting even, the division between the haves and the have-nots continues to get even more insane.
Well,
So
it helps me understand people in my own life. I think that's part of, as a writer, that's one of the things I do is I like to go to those gray areas and to look at these echelons, because I feel like it makes me a more compassionate person.
yeah, no, I
There's
think
not a lot you can say to me. There are a few things, but there's not a lot you could say to me that would make me immediately hate someone. I would really have to kind of like, okay, tell me more.
yeah,
I
why?
mean,
Tell me, explain the
yes.
why to me. I agree with you totally. And I
Yeah.
think there's some exceptions, like you said, but no,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Well, we are going to be giving away a copy of The Hope Keeper, either on Instagram at Killer Women Podcast, or over on our Facebook page at Danielle's Killer Women. Heather, tell our listeners where to find you, because I know you're gonna be doing some touring and you'll be out and about. So tell what's the best place to figure out where you are?
Yeah, heatherwebbauthor.com. I have a news and events page. It's got all my events, all the tickets, links, and everything. I have a newsletter that goes out once a month. I hate spam, so it really goes out once a month, unless there's a sale or something. So you can always find stuff there. I'm on social media, but you know how it is, algorithms, blah, blah, blah. It's not quite as reliable, but I'm at Ms. Heather Webb on Facebook and Instagram.
And
So.
have a web with two B's if you're listening to us, which I guess is how it's always spelled, probably, right? Um, even yeah, otherwise it would be like Charlotte's Web, which this is not.
Yeah,
So
yeah, web with two B's. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I never think of that, but that's probably a
but
good thing
that's
to
probably
say.
always how the name is spelled. Now that I think about it, but anyway, in case you were wondering out there, and also I said that a page in manuscript is 250, and it's not. It's 500. I think that
No,
makes
no, you're right.
it's
It's
250.
250 when it's double spaced. Yeah. If it's not double spaced, there's more, but double spaced is
Like
about
very many
250.
pages worth
Yeah.
on one page, but okay.
Listen, like this
Look
is a
at me,
writer
like,
being exact and
yeah,
getting
look at
it
me
right.
like
I love
doubting
it.
myself. I'm like, well, maybe that's not right. Maybe I have no idea. Maybe I've written 17 books and I still don't know how many pages, how many words there are on one page. Anyway, it was so fun to get a chance to talk to you today, Heather.
Thank you
Um,
for reading and for having me. It was lovely.
so fun. And there's some, yeah, really fun, just twists and turns in this book. So everybody go pick up The Hope Keeper. Look for Heather on her webpage and go see her out in the world. And we will see you next time on Killer Women. Bye.